Hello, everyone. How's it going? Long time no see. I think I missed out at least one Global Hack Week. How's everyone doing? A lot of things in the chat. Hello. Great. If you're excited, I am excited as well. Uh, okay, how's everyone doing? Yes, same question from me. How is everyone doing? Hello. Technically true. That is true. It is going to be a long one, definitely. So, before we get started, I hope you all have registered for the session. If you haven't, please find the link in the chat right about now. Okay, please do register for the sessions. Helps you, helps me, helps MLH. Okay, here's the link to register. Please do register for the event. Very important, I would say, in my opinion. Okay, so I am glad everyone is here. Everyone is excited. Now, let me quickly introduce myself and then we will talk about what we are doing. Okay, so for those who are joining me for the very first time, hello, my name is Utkarsh, but I prefer to go by UT, as you might see on your screen somewhere. Well, actually, right about here somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Uh, Basically, initials of my full name. And that's how everyone knows me in MLH. So if you just say, oh, who's UT? People will know. Okay. So I have been a coach at Major League Hacking for approximately 4 years now, and I have streamed content like over at least 100 plus streams. So there are at least 100 videos with my face in it. uh, and Yeah, that's quick introduction about me. If when I am not working at Major League Hacking, I'm working as a front end developer in a bank. Uh, okay, so that's quickly about me. Now, about this project and what are we doing? So, Social Good Week, I think it was in terms of the ideas that I could think of, I was like, oh, there's so many, but which ones would be kind of, easier to start with, and then we can expand on it, like you all can expand on it. So if you have never joined me before, then let me tell you, I prefer to build things out in my streams. So it would be like a 3-part stream this time, which the first stream is right now. The second stream will be half an hour later, for 2 hours. And the third stream is tomorrow at around 8 a.m. ET, which is 1 p.m. London time, your BST basically. And that would be 5:30 p.m. IST, I think. Uh, yeah. So basically, I try to like have a proper 3-part, 4-part streams where we build a project from scratch. 4 years ago, we would be actually writing code by hand, but well, thanks to all the AI models, all the LLM models, we could now do code generation. So I'll holistically rely on code generation for bits and pieces. Some bits and pieces will understand, but one thing that I am going to write personally, manually, would be the agents.md file, which will contain the instructions for any agent that we use. It will contain instructions about the project itself. So this would be a very long kind of document. And the reason why is because this document is the only thing that ideally you would need to pass to any agent, and uh, it can build out the project in its entirety. So basically, that is, I think, as the time goes by, what our focus should be will change. And right about now, the focus is making sure that our instructions are pitch perfect. Oops. Our instructions are pitch perfect, so that we can pass it to a agent or any LLMs that you use, and yeah, that can create the project for us. Okay, now everything that we write, everything that we do will be pushed to GitHub, as always, again, as in all my previous streams. So if you want to get the latest code, the latest file that we have written, the latest commit, you will find it here. Okay. uh, and this is just one of the projects that we have done in Global Hack Week. Everything that you see here, this has all been done on Global Hack Week streams. Color palette generator, my best project ever, I guess. It got a ton of what do you call, it got a ton of people contributing to it, which was really nice. So we have some open issues, we have pull requests, uh, we have around 69 PRs closed, most of these by uh, the depender bot, but some by real humans as well, which includes me, of course. Mm, responsiveness fix. So the reason why I'm showing this is because if you want to contribute to this project, like, we'll start building it. We will start writing code, we'll start building something. It might not be complete, might not be production ready, there could be a ton of features that you could come up with. And the best way you could add whatever you think is by raising a pull request. So do raise a pull request after tomorrow. uh, if you have any features, do raise issues, enhancements, or anything, any bug fixes that you might find yourself that might get missed today and tomorrow. And yeah, that's basically about it. uh, I'm just looking at the chat. Okay, cool. uh, this is, I don't understand this question. Do we have many projects, as in like the project that we are building here, or something else? And when will we get it? Oh, I am not sure about the mini challenges, frankly. Please check out the ghw.mlh.io website for it, or ghw.mlh.com. Sorry, my bad. Uh, so any challenges that are coming would be there, listed there. Uh, yeah, and you can go to just basically this website for all the challenges. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I don't understand this question. What's BRD generation? Sorry. Okay, Cool. I guess we can start. Okay. So let's start with our first file. And interestingly, what I learned during one of the global hack weeks is about the agents.md. And since then, I have not stopped using it. So thanks. I don't remember the username of the person who told me about it, but I guess this was like 2 or 3 months 3 or 4 months ago, I guess, uh, that someone told me that, oh, you don't need to create claude.md specifically. You can just create agents.md, which every agent would adhere to. And since then, I've found it quite, quite helpful, quite interesting, per se. Okay, so let's get started. Let's start by writing our first file, which would not be README in this case. It would be agents.md. Okay. I will zoom in so that you all can see everything. And let me just make this screen a bit more compact in terms of what is visible. Let me know at any point if you can't see something on the screen. I might like go away from screen so that you have the entire space and you don't have to look at me uh, while writing code. Oh, there's a question here. What are the uses of GitHub developer students? How to use it? Okay, so GitHub Student Developer Pack. I mean, you'll have to apply for it if you are a student. You could get it, and the use for it would be basically there are a ton of tools that are available to students. You get access to websites, coding websites, learning websites, access to, I think, yeah, when I remember when I was a student, GitHub Student Developer Pack allowed me access to domain names for a year. So yeah, I guess that's like one of the best things out there for students. Uh, what are we building now? We are building agents.md for ToolLoop, and as we start writing it, you will understand everything that this project will have. Ah, can't we rewind in Twitch? Oh, sorry, you can't rewind in Twitch, but you can rewind on YouTube, and everything is also available on YouTube. Oh, thank you so much for exact link there. Slightly zoom in more. Is this good? Okay. A lot of questions. Perfect. You're welcome. And yep, thank you so much for sharing this link. And yeah, you can go and rewind on YouTube. Not just my sessions, everyone's sessions are normally available on YouTube, which is really great, which is really, 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 really great. Okay, perfect. Cool. I hope I have not missed out on any questions. Oh, I did. I did miss out on one question. Okay. Oh, business requirements document that way is okay. Fair enough. Not sure, honestly. I am not sure how we could. I mean, in terms of instructions, yes, we can tell it that, oh, make sure that every piece of uh, code is kind of vetted data is anonymized. So instead of having user data linked to an actual person, if you could anonymize it, that would be great. uh, I guess those are some of the things that the local LLMs could help us with. I guess it's more of a question when we start building it, or when we kind of reach to a point where we want to, uh, yeah, where we basically want it to be in use in production. I guess that's when we could leverage local LLMs. Well, that can't be possible, right? You will be using a locking mechanism, anyways, to write to the database. Yeah, it's not like, it's not a software tool. It's more of a hardware. So if you lend your hammer to someone, it's not like two people can use it simultaneously. Uh, Not after this live stream. I have three parts to this session. So this is the first one. We'll have the second one half an hour later, and then we'll have the third one tomorrow. So if you have any, if you can create issues on GitHub, feel free to create issues, but please don't do any code commits, because I won't be able to accept any PRs until the end of it. Okay, cool. I guess that's all the questions. Let's start building the agents.md, and I will come back to questions in a bit. Okay, so this is our agent reference tool loop about tool loop. We are creating agents.md. So if you have used Claude, and I'm pretty sure everyone has used Claude, uh, you create a Claude.md, which is kind of the instruction set for Claude. In this case, I am not going to specifically use only Claude. I might switch between different agents, and that is when agents.md is helpful. You can read all about it on this agents.md. There we go. Oh, I need to swap this around because I prefer it in this left and right. Yeah. Agents.md, open, simple open format for guiding coding agents, and it is used by more than 60,000 open source projects. I guess mine would be in the list in this manner. And the instruction set is basically very similar to kind of, uh, let's say if you have to write a claude.md. Okay, if you write claude.md, the way you would write that instruction set, the way you would write that markdown file, the way you would give instructions to your AI agent, very similar to that. So that is why I now prefer to use basically this one. uh, and then depending on different agents that you're using, if let's say you are using Claude, you could possibly just uh, copy paste the entire document that we write in agents.md going to claude.md. Which language? Well, TypeScript. JavaScript, TypeScript. Check-in link. Yep, sure. Let me grab the check-in link for you. Okay, skills.sh. I have again. Actually, no, that's not true. I've used skills.sh, but more like creating skills, like execution skills. That's fine. I guess this is much more accepted in my opinion. The agents.md file is much more accepted. Uh, I am not 100% sure if skills.sh is as widely accepted. Uh, Second link is open actually. I just checked, so should be fine. We should be able to. Okay, moving on. So let's. The next section that we want to build is what it is. Okay, which is what is this project about? So let me just close this one so that you have more visible area. So this is more like a neighborhood tool lending web app. Okay, borrow tools from people nearby. No money, no real auth, no complexity. Okay. So this basically sets the tone for my like any LLM agent that we will use, or like when Copilot is running in the background, this would go kind of as an instruction set. Oh wow, really? 60%? This would kind of go like an instruction set uh, to any agent that we use. We could use Claude. We could use Claude inside Copilot. We could use Gemini. So we'll try. We'll try a bunch of things. We'll try a couple of things. Uh, we'll actually. I'm more or less aiming to kind of use the like different agents, pass them this document and see how we can structure our project. So we won't have to remember everything about actual writing code, but what we will be doing is majorly managing different agents and at the same time ensuring that we don't have bad code. Okay, so we'll be reviewing that code. So we need to know Next.js a bit, otherwise it can give me output which might not be correct or which might kind of cause issues in the future. Okay, so you need to know your things, you need to know stuff, you need to know how to use Next.js, how to write code in Next.js, the use client, use server, everything, but you don't have to write actual code now, right? Like, that's the best part, I would say. Okay, cool. Moving on, we'll be using Next.js 16. We'll use the app router. We will use the type. We'll use TypeScript strict mode. We will use SQLite plus Prisma 7 plus libsql adapter. Okay. We'll have server actions only, no API routes, no client side fetching, no SWR. Okay. We'll go with plain CSS plus CSS modules, no Tailwind, no MUI, no component libraries. Plain and raw CSS. We'll use Zord for validation and Biome 2 for linting. Have you used Biome? Anyone in the chat? Let me know. I have been a fan of ESLint since it has been out there, but recently, and I would say recent would be 2 projects ago. Uh, I actually started using Biome and quite like it. It is pretty good. Uh, okay, and we won't have real authentication. We won't be actually uh, writing any real end-to-end authentication or use any library for it. We'll use a demo authentication, and we'll have a HTTP only cookie for it, and we'll name it as the tool loop underscore user. Then the architecture of this project. Architecture. The architecture is going to be very simple. We'll have the UI, of course. which will have the server actions in Next.js, which will go to Prisma. We don't need to go very further, which will go up until like Prisma. Uh, and we are missing one piece here, which is our domain. Okay. So it's going to be very simple in terms of like we'll have server components that will query our Prisma directly. We will write like server action will basically be like for the writes as well. We'll use Zord for validation in between, and then uh, yeah, I guess that's majorly it. Pass it to like do a transaction and revalidate path. uh, we'll have domain layers, so we'll have some pure functions which will be like all the business logic, okay, and then we'll have actions which are more like orchestrators, so there would be no rules, no raw SQL calls there, and our components are going to be dumb, okay. The major, not the major, the only work of our components are supposed to be uh, rendering and dispatching. They will never decide the policy of anything. Oh, okay, fair enough. Uh, Let me try and explain uh, a bit more. So, just imagine in this format that pages are just display data. Okay, they are only going to display any data which will be directly fetched from database. So assume like let's say you click a button to borrow a tool. Okay, uh, there will be a server action. It will validate the input. It will check if you are allowed to borrow it, and then it will write to database. Okay, and the domain layer where I said we'll have pure function business rules, that is where the logic will live. Okay, so as again going back to our idea, you click a button to borrow a tool. Okay, a server action is going to handle it. It is going to validate the input, uh, and the logic of is this allowed will be inside another folder, the domain folder. Okay, and if it is allowed, then it will write it in the database directly. Okay, and when I said the components are supposed to be dumb, what that basically means is that it just renders some UI, some HTML, some CSS, okay, and a minimal JavaScript to just fire off actions. They will not contain business logic that, oh, is this user allowed to borrow this tool? No, will not write that. Okay, and yeah, I guess that's it. Okay, let's start writing it down. Let's start from the reads. So our reads are going to be asynchronous server components, which query the Prisma database directly, which will query Prisma directly. Okay. Also, since okay, perfect. Okay, because I was just going to say that also since you mentioned that some of these tools don't make sense, I was trying to go and explain that. I guess the major one is uh, Prisma, I guess, right? So if you have never used Prisma, okay, so we'll be using SQLite as a database, which is a simple file-based database, and Prisma is a library that talks to it, talks to the database, okay, instead of in a different format, in a typed code format rather than raw SQL queries like select star queries. Um, and other than that, I guess server actions that could be a new thing. So imagine that as like a way to save data or change data, update data, uh, like directly from Next.js rather than a REST API where you have to do a HTTP call, a get or post call, or something like that. Okay. And I guess the last one would be this one, HTTP only cookie. So some cookies are like from browser, you can have access to that cookie. Okay. So if I go over here and if I go in my application tab, in the cookies tab, and I go here, I can add a cookie here. I can add a cookie which could be called as tool loop underscore user, and its value could be 123. And then it has a bunch of other things that you might notice here. It has the domain, which is where is this cookie available. It has the path, which is it available at the root or in a sub path. Then it has the max age, when does it expire. So as soon as I close this tab, okay, if I copy this link, close this tab, open it again, question is, will I have it? Okay, apparently in this case yes, but if I make it available for like 1 second or something, okay, at some point it will disappear. As you can see, I reloaded and it was only there for 1 second and then it disappeared. Okay, then you will notice something around the size of this cookie, 16 bytes, doesn't matter. The two things that are very much important in our case, when I said a HTTP only cookie here, this is a checkbox kind of. Okay, is it a HTTP only cookie and is it secure? If let's say I say yes, this is a HTTP only cookie and it is secure, uh, now in JavaScript, can I access this cookie? I'll have to Google like get cookie JavaScript because I don't remember the exact thing. Okay, document.cookie. Okay, this is what I was looking for. So if I do document.cookie, it says there is nothing, but I actually manually added something. But now if I remove this HTTP only, wait, which one? Oh, it's still, ah, my bad. I'll have to basically delete it and start up again. Tool loop underscore one and value is 123. And this one is not a HTTP only cookie. So if I now do document.cookie, I can actually get the cookie. So when it is not secure, it is not a HTTP only cookie, then you can get access to that cookie via JavaScript. Okay. Via JavaScript, you can get access to that cookie. But if you make it a HTTP only cookie, which basically means that the server is going to set it, okay, then you don't have access to it from JavaScript. Okay. To make cookies secure, uh, Secure in the sense like you can always go into application tab and find it, but example, uh, if you want to ensure that someone has not written a piece of code on another website where they can read what cookies you have, because cookies are in a way, uh, not in a way, cookies are what you would use to, let's say, authenticate a user. Okay, you will like from your UI or from your server somewhere, uh, you will make a like, let's start from the UI perspective. Let me come back on screen for this bit of pep talk around cookies. uh, so from your UI, when you first open a website, uh, to do an authentication, you have to establish a secure connection. So you will say, oh, I am going from a HTTPS website. Okay, and that HTTPS website will have this connection is secure, and it will have a certificate. Okay, and this certificate has details around who issued this certificate, and who, what is like, is it valid, not valid, what is the version number, the serial number, and your server understand knows about this certificate uh, by default or from beforehand. So in this case, Let's Encrypt has issued the certificate. Okay. Now, if there is a server involved to this website, that server will know about the certificate. It will have the private key, and here you can get the public key of the certificate. Okay. Now, when the connection is established, when this UI tries to query the server, it will present, like, first thing it's going to do, your server is going to do, is going to check if it is coming from a domain that I know about, and is there, like, is does the public key match, and if the public key matches, then let's do a handshake and understand the private key. Okay, that part is done. uh, like, it's near about what this would happen. Okay, but after this, once you have established, then the server will be like, okay, uh, now that we have established a connection, and now I want to know if you are a valid user. So assume there is a login page, the user has entered their credentials, uh, they've entered their username and password, that goes to the server then. So step one, we have established that agents.md is a valid legit website that the server of agents.md knows about. Okay, so I'm still talking about the server part of this website only. Okay, it knows about that, and it goes like, okay, I know about this, and it's coming from a valid place. Now let's check if the user is valid. So it takes your credentials and it goes like, yep, the user is valid, everything is good. Now, every time the user refreshes the page, we don't want the user to go through this entire process of logging in again. We don't want the user to go and uh, like, again, enter their credentials, and we do this entire thing again and again. So the server goes like, we can maintain a session, and to maintain that session and to know that all subsequent requests, which is like, after this, if you click on this button, it goes to a new page, it sends a new network request. So all those requests should contain some sort of identifier for me to know that yes, you are still a valid user and I know about you. And that is where cookies come in. So the server will set a cookie. When the server sets a cookie, it's a HTTP only cookie. If it is set on a HTTPS website, it would be secure. I think there are some other nuances around how to make it secure. We'll have to Google, like you and me both. We'll have to Google that. But basically, the server will be like, okay, here's a cookie which I'm going to set in your, let's say, application tab dev console, and now every network request that you make after this should contain this cookie in the headers. So that whenever I receive a request, I will check if there's a cookie there. Is that a valid cookie that I know about? If I know about, I will allow this network request to go through, or I will possibly block it and say, no, that's tampered with. That's a cookie that I don't know about. Okay. So cookies basically contain sensitive data. Okay. So example, if there was a server of ToolLoop and there was this cookie that I gave you, what would happen is you could log in as me. Okay, because if server has set this cookie and the server knows about this cookie value 123, and then the server is like, oh, I have received a request from tool loop 1 user because the cookie matches exactly of tool loop 1. So you could impersonate me, and that is why uh it's very important that these are http only secure and cannot be accessed by javascript, because all these extensions that you install on your system, you basically have given access, like you have given javascript access to them, right? So any extension can read anything on any website that you visit, and that's how credentials leak. That's how uh, it's a security issue, and that's why it's like, always make sure that you're logging into a system on a secure computer and stuff. Okay. Uh, okay, that's enough about my pep talk on cookies. Uh, hopefully it helped. Sorry about getting a bit back, not distracted, but more like focusing more on one of the things. And I hope that made sense. Okay, this is nearly right. So, rights, nice. I'm glad you learned something today. Okay, so the next one is going to be about rights. Okay, so we will have a server actions which calls Zod validation, which calls domain check, which does the transaction, and which calls the revalidate path and return result. Possible. Yeah, sure. So what is this line? So server action, think of it as a function that would run on the server side. So when you click a button, you want to do some action, but it's not a HTTP call, or kind of. Yeah, it wouldn't be a HTTP call. You literally know about a function, let's say on the server side, and you're like, oh, if the user clicks on this button of borrow, run this function. Now, before doing anything, we want to ensure that the data is actually valid. Okay. So if not clicking on a button, but if let's say a user clicks, not clicks, writes their name, okay, and they hit the submit button, they write their username and they hit the submit button. Now, is the username valid? Is it actually a string? Is it not like, it's not an empty string? It has a value. It's supposed to be a username, and name should be, let's say, minimum 3 characters. Is it like, all those checks are going to happen on Zod validation. Then the domain check. It's basically where all the pure business logic will live. Okay. So example, if can you request your own tool from the website? So let's say you own a hammer, then you go to the website. You have logged into your account. You go to the website. You log into your account, and then you go and try to request your own hammer. Should that be allowed? Is that a valid business use case? Uh, I don't think so. So this kind of checks, that is what's going to live in domain check. Okay. So you're not allowed to request your own tool. So at domain check level, at the business transaction, or not a business transaction, but more like the business logic, the pure business logic level, it will reject and saying that, oh, the user who is logged into the system and the user who owns this hammer are the same people. So error, send an error, and just stop execution and just send an error. Okay, so that kind of business logic is going to live in the domain check. Then the transaction part, this transaction part is nothing but basically writing to the database. So example, you request a tool, and then uh, you want to go and go in the database and write that, oh, someone has already requested this tool. Then the owner of the tool will be like, oh, I've received a request, let me approve it. Then we go back to the database and write that, oh, this request has now been approved, and now mark it unavailable for other users. So no two people can try to get the same hammer at the same time. It will be one after the other. Okay, and the revalidate path, that is basically telling Next.js that, hey, the data on this page has changed, please uh, kind of do a refetch. Okay, so throw away the cached version and get this new data. So that's it, I guess. If I have to again simply explain it, think of it as getting some input, validating that input, checking if checking the rules, which is checking if it is allowed or not, saving the data atomically, and then refreshing the UI. That's all we are doing. Okay, that's the rights. So this is an instruction set to tell what to do. Next, let's talk about the domain layer. I will put this in source slash lib slash domain folder. Okay, all the business logic lives here. It is pure functions, no out input output, no framework imports. All business logic, business rules live here. Actions. Okay, this is nearly correct, but I'll write what I want this. So this is for orchestration only. And finally, our components. All they do is render and dispatch only. Never decide the policy. Perfect. So this is the architecture of our tool loop system. Okay. Very simply, what we have focused on is giving some rules to our agents, whichever agent we end up using, maybe multiple agents that we end up using. We will basically tell it that here are the rules that you have to adhere to at every given point in this project. Uh, and that will ensure that we have a much more succinct project, right? Next, let's focus on the setup. Of course, we'll install using npm. So npm install. We can run Prisma using npx. Actually, technically, we'll install Prisma. Uh, actually easier. Npx Prisma generate will have npx Prisma db seed and npm run dev. Okay, so these are some of the actions that you can use, or are like can this can serve as a readme to users, but also a readme to our agent. And reset to clean state would be, nah, not this much. What we want to do is just npm run db reset. Now, key invariants. Okay, so these are kind of like key constraints that we have in our project, and it should never drift from these. Okay, invariants are a way that, like, or what does that basically means is that these are some rules that should always hold. Okay, now the rules that we will add here, one is that when a borrow is approved, both the request status and the tool's availability must update together in one database operation. Okay, you will not do two database operations, because what if during second one it something crashes? Then you cannot borrow your own tool, or you cannot borrow something that has already been borrowed by someone else. Then for return, okay, a return will only work via an OTP. Okay, so we'll create some fake OTP in the UI itself, as not in the UI, but more like on this one itself, without too much faff, not a proper end-to-end system. But basically, when someone comes to return the tool, the owner of the tool will generate an OTP, which the user will then like write and submit, and that's how you can kind of complete the transaction, and will not show any like PII, which is personally identifiable information on public pages. Okay, like these are some key invariants. The last one, I got an idea from the discussion here, which is about how well we manage PII, or like, using LLMs. So I'm adding that as one of the invariants, key invariant. Okay. Mm, perfect. Uh, Approve, approve. What was that? April 2024. Wow, that's a weird one. So there it would be a request, then it is approved plus tool, it becomes unavailable. This should be atomic. Okay. Any questions on the word atomic here? Uh, for some reason in my mind, every time I use the word atomic, I'm like, okay, atomic must be understandable because it's a database operation. Database operations are atomic. So that is what's going on in my mind. But if it's not making sense, let me know. Okay. Uh, Cancel. If you have requested to borrow a tool, then the borrower can still cancel that request. So borrower can cancel that request. So any request that the user makes goes into their pending category, and the owner of the tool can be like, "Oh, I don't want to lend this tool. Maybe I want to use it myself tomorrow." So they can cancel the request, and then we can have the contact PII, which will be email, phone number, address, never rendered on public pages. I mean, you can see your own uh, PII. Like, I can see my own email, but I shouldn't be able to see, maybe, let's say, someone else's email or address. I mean, that's just some things that come to me from top of my head. I am not sure if that would be everything, but I guess that's good enough to start with. So these are some of our key constraints. Okay. If you have more key constraints, do let me know. Data models. Uh, let's start with that. So we'll have a user owns tool tools, maybe makes borrow requests, and can have favorites as well. Okay, so maybe I have a tool that I really like. Could be, let's say, a grass cutter, and I don't want to go and search for it every time, so I can mark it as a favorite. Now a tool has borrow requests, favorites as tool reports. Okay, we'll have images in the tool, we'll have some description, all of those. Okay. Next is a borrow request that has a status. And what are the possible status that it could have? It could be pending, and from pending, it can only go to approved or rejected. And then, if it is approved, it has to be returned, or it would be cancelled. Cancelled. And it has request events. Okay. So what I've done here is I have created a state machine. Okay. So if this is your first time coming across the word state machine, uh, let me tell you, you're not alone. Okay, that's a lie. I don't know about it, but I dived deeply into it very recently in terms of like all the possible ways someone can explain a state machine. Okay. So, what's a state machine? A state machine is nothing but basically an action, and what is the possible reaction to that action. Okay. So, example, in this case, I've written a state machine, and very simply, it has an action and then it has a reaction to that action. So, example, a tool. will have a borrow request. So again, I request to borrow a knife for some reason. My house doesn't have a knife. Uh, Now that request goes through the stage of pending. Okay, step one, it goes into a pending request. Now, at a pending request, the owner of that knife can either approve that or reject it. Okay, reject the request, approve the request, or reject the request. So let's say the owner approves the request. Now I'm going to walk over to that person's home, take the knife. Uh, right? That makes me think. Should we have an OTP system for when you borrow it as well? Maybe I should, like I being the person who is requesting stuff, should you have an OTP that I can give to the owner to confirm that I have borrowed it? Okay, maybe we need that. That could be a very good add-on to this. So anyone who is like, there are a lot of people on the stream. So if anyone wants to raise it as an issue, because I'm not going to build it, but this is an idea that just popped up in my head as I was discussing state machines. Assuming, like, let's say it's a fair transaction, uh, then step one is it has been approved. I go over to that person's house and I borrow the stuff, and then I go back and return it to them. Right. So that's one path of the state machine. Now, what's the second path? The second path could be that after pending, which is a request is pending, the owner does not like me. Maybe I don't know. I did not give them how much. Well, there's so less tools that I know about. Maybe I did not give them a hammer when they asked for it, so they don't like me and they reject my request. Okay. So when the request has been rejected, it kind of you can say it has been cancelled and the tool is now available to anyone else who wants to use it. Okay. So it would always be available until the user approves it. Okay. Only when the user has approved a request, then it becomes unavailable. Otherwise, it's always available. So that is the second path that you could take. Okay. So at every path in every scenario, so a state machine is nothing but basically mapping out all the possible statuses that the system can go to or go through in a way. And based on those statuses, you basically decide the scenario of what if this happens, then where does system go from here? Okay. So what if the request has been approved and then the request has been uh, approved, and then can it be rejected at the same time? Do we allow that? We don't allow that. Okay. What if the request has been approved, which means that the tool has been marked as unavailable, but I'd never go and get that knife from my neighbor? Maybe I don't want to make salad, so I don't need a knife. So what happens in that scenario? See, so now this is where the business acumen would come in, or this is where someone will be like, let's map out this scenario. This so state machine is nothing but mapping out all those scenarios. So I request knife from my neighbor approves that request, I never go and pick it up, but now no one else can take that knife, but at the same time, uh, even I'm not using it. Okay, so what happens in this scenario? We have reached a point in our state machine where there is it's a stalemate kind of, right? So what happens in this scenario? We'll have to think about it. We'll have to write intermediate states now, and that is where you have like your overall scenarios, and then you have your intermediate states. Uh, Maybe after approval, it could go into a pending collection state, and in that pending collection state, uh, if I don't go and get it within like 24 hours, then it automatically goes into a cancel state. Is it making sense to people? uh like when I say intermediate states and, like, the entire scenario. I'll wait for an answer while I move ahead with this conversation. So, as I said, so this is where we come up with the ideas of intermediate states, because currently this scenario is not covered, and I literally just thought of it right now. Oh, there's a question: is concept of a state machine in a state chart diagram? Yeah, it is. It is. Honestly, it is. Uh, it is technically scenario mapping. It is similar to UML diagrams. Uh, yeah, I would say state chart diagrams. Yeah, I remember. Oof, reminds me of Java at this point. Uh, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's state machines and our data models and every state that we go through, and we have missed out on a state which I thought right now. So maybe I'll wait for a PR from one of you to basically add it. Favorite? Uh, it should be unique. Hmm. So what I've written here is basically to say that if you favorite a tool, then uh, the way you would save it, or what you ideally want is, I have favorited a lawnmower. Okay. Wow, I know another tool. So I favorited a lawnmower. So we are going to save it in the database against my user ID and that tool ID. Okay. So next time I go and say, oh, I want to unfavorite it. Uh, okay, I can go only from favorite to unfavorite of that state. So just a very simple way of saving something. And this word, idempotency, is it new to anyone? If it is, we can go into another 10-minute discussion on it. Okay. Some more data models that I've written down. Oh, okay. I guess I would say if you have never done this before, it could be slightly difficult. But you know what would be great? Making use of AI to explain this. Okay. So we'll try that out after I finish writing this. Let's use AI to kind of do explain like I am five scenarios. Okay. Folder conventions. We'll have source slash lib slash domain, pure business rules. And then we'll have our source slash actions folder. Then we'll have our source slash components slash UI folder. I think this is writing too much. Pure business rules. Yep, that's good enough. Everything else we have defined. This is our thin server actions. That's it. And this is our styled primitive. Okay. And this is Prisma client singleton. And this will have a global discard. Okay. Then we'll have the session.ts. It will have a get current current user. This will be the only place identity is resolved. Then we will have the src slash lib slash constants.ts file. It will have, let's say, enums only, enum2 label maps, and it will never render raw enum strings. And we'll use CSS modules, which will be co-located with co-located with each component. All values reference the root tokens in globals.css. Sure. Next is routes. So we'll have, let's create a table of a route, the type of the route, and what it does. So route, type, what it does. Nice, perfect. So we have our first route, which is the route. It is going to be a React server component. This will be homepage, and this will have a hero, how it works, and call to action button. Okay, they don't align. Let's see. This aligns, this aligns, and now this one. I hate Markdown. As in like Markdown tables. Sorry, not Markdown itself, but more like the Markdown tables. Okay, is this good enough? Maybe. Okay, cool. The next one is going to be the browse page. And technically, everything that we build will be RSC, but let's say good enough. So this will have a tool grid. It will have filters via URL query params, and those filters will have, like, let's say, category. They'll have, let's say, neighborhood. They will have, let's say, available. They will have a query filter. And I think that's good enough. Then we'll have the tools slash ID RSC. It will have a tool detail, the photo, the owner info, the some rules about that tool, and a request button, not a form. Don't need a form. Actually, we would need a form. Fair enough. Then we'll have the slash tools slash new, where we'll have again a React server component plus an action, and this is a creation where the user will create and then submit, and it will create a tool, and it will redirect to sure this one. Perfect, nice, that is good. Then let's do a slash dashboard rc. Here the user can the owner, okay, the owners can see their own tools plus any incoming requests, and they will have the buttons to approve, reject, return. Okay, that will happen from this page itself. Then we'll have a page for slash borrows rc. Now these are borrowers pending plus approved requests, and it will have the cancel plus OTP return on this page. And finally, we'll have the slash saved route, where, yeah, this will have. Okay. Now, to anyone who's not understanding what's going on, uh, at this point, or actually, let me write two more, and then we'll kind of do a explain like I am five. Okay. We will go on Google AI Studio and we'll try it out. Okay. Component and action conventions. The first one is server versus client. Server components by default add the use client only when the component needs on click, on change, use state or use effect, etc. Yes. Okay. If in doubt, it is a server component. Okay. So we'll always create server components, very minimal client components. That's the idea. Then the next thing is going to be the action return shape. Every action returns success boolean. Yeah, that is good. Or we can go with okay, which is true. And then nothing else. Or it can return an okay false, with the error. Okay. And the client component that gets created, client components check result dot okay and render result dot error inline near the triggering control. Never throw from an action. Always return a structured result. So we'll never throw an error. We'll always have a good possible outcome or a bad possible outcome, which will be okay, false, with what was the error. Okay. Very simply, that is what we have instructed our LLM, like any LLM that we will use to write this. Okay. I'm not saying we'll only use LLM. Okay. And let me be very clear there. Uh, but this is one of the majority part that I'm spending my time on, because if you understand this, if you understand how to structure your project, how to structure the idea, like if you could write it down and if you could explain it to someone, basically that's half of your job done. And in this case, that someone is our AI model. Okay. Not our AI model, but any AI model. And then finally, some naming conventions, because why not? Okay. So, naming conventions, uh, action names are verbs. Okay. And let's add some examples there, which is like, let's say, yep, create, tool, approve, borrow request, toggle favorite. And component names are noun. Yep, that is also good. And we'll also say that call the revalidate path after every successful mutation that changes a visible page. Okay. Next, let's add some things not to do, which is what not to build. Okay. Because, well, sometimes it can go out of hand, right? It can go like, oh, maybe we should build this, maybe we should build that. It goes off on tangents. So we don't want that to happen. So we'll say do not build payments, do not build a rating slash reviews system, do not build image uploads, do not build a real auth, do not build a real time chat application, do not build an in app AI, do not build a multi tenant uh, features. Okay. Now, after all of this, it is nearly complete, but there are a few things uh, that I realized when I was building it for the very first time. Okay. So, well, of course, I've prepared for the session. It's not like I'm coming in blind with this one. So, let's see. If I show you what it will look like at the end of this session, it would be something like this. And I have a problem. Why did I not do something? What did I not do? Oh, okay. Perfect. And npm run dev. I hate that it keeps crashing right now. What did I do? So it's saying that it cannot create this adapter. Why though? I'm pretty sure I have. So the last time it failed because I was running on Node 20, even though I have set up the project for Node 22. But now this time I have ensured that it is running on Node 22. It's still failing. Maybe I should run a migrate script. And done. And let's see a generate script. And now let's try the dev command. And okay, much better. We are reaching a better error. So for folks, like, don't worry, we have not completed the project. Just trying to make sure that it runs up, and I need to basically seed up my database now. Finally, yes. So things to have or slash things to know. Number one, we are going to use Node 22. So like we'll have to ensure that we are always on Node 22. And then some commands that are always needed. Actually, I can add them in the list of commands that we will have to run. Actually, technically we have all of it. It's here. So these are uh, basically to first generate schema and seed data. Okay, that could be one of the top level descriptions. Okay, ensure on node 22, and then these three commands. It should basically get our database up and running. And yeah, perfect. Okay, so uh, this is what we will have at the end of the sessions. Uh, okay, very simple. There is llms.text. We'll talk about it. But yeah, something simple like this. You could go to the browse. You can click on one of the tools, gets its description. You can favorite a tool. So if I now go into saved, I have two things that I have favorited. I'm logged in as this demo user, light mode, dark mode, because why not? Uh, if I go to the tool and I go like, oh, this is your tool, so I cannot actually ask for it. Uh, what about this wheelbarrow? Can I save it, favorite it? Yes, I can. If I go to wheelbarrow, I can have some messages that I can write, and majorly I can request to borrow. Okay. Now this is listed by Joanne Gregory. So let me try to go to a new tab and log in as Joanne Gregory. Okay. So now if I go to dashboard, there is a wheelbarrow request which is pending. I can mark it unavailable. I can approve this request or reject this request. Let's say I'm a very nice person. I will go like approve the request. So now I come back, and here, if I go to my borrows, uh, Alan Holland, uh, wheelbarrow has been approved. So I'll go and borrow it. And now I want to basically return it. Okay. So I go back to my dashboard and I generate. Oh, so currently I have this problem which we'll need to fix, which is the cookie is of a different user, but this one is not refreshing. Not a fix, but more like we'll have to run this in two different screens. So I can technically open, let me see. Can I open Firefox? Or actually, can I just go in here incognito? Joanne Gregory. I generate a return code. I can copy this code, and here as Alan Holland, I go to my borrows and I go like, here you go, and now confirm return, and it has now been returned. Okay, as you can see, there we go. And at every point in the console, there would be some or the other logs. Okay, some info logs are right here. Okay, which will keep telling us, oh, this is what's happening on the screen. So user OTP submit, uh, and at the same time, when it is running on your local, on your console, you will also see some logs. So that tells you, oh, this is what's happening. uh, Move from this page to this page. Moved from browse, uh, from the header. I've moved to, let's say, dashboard page. So basically everything is kind of logged. If I go to footer, was clicked and the user has moved to this page. So more logging. That is what I meant when I said like we'll have uh, audit logs. Okay, logging everywhere. Love logging. uh, Basically to understand what the user is doing on the system. Now, the reason why I paused is while we'll build that system, it is technically built, but we'll talk about it. But while building it, I found a few gotchas, which were like more of a Prisma 7 thing between Prisma 6 and Prisma 7. Some things have changed. Uh, and also, uh, Note 22 has some of its quirks. So based on all those quirks, I wrote a few gotchas which we will avoid. So I'll add them beforehand. Okay. So that we don't make the same mistake again. So I'm going to say Prisma 7 gotchas. So one was database underscore URL. It goes in prisma.config.ts, not in schema.prisma. So this was my experience. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but I found that this, and run npx prisma generate manually after every migrate dev. Next was seed file must be .mts, which is the ESM format, to avoid CJS, CommonJS, clash with libsql adapter, and use at default UUID for UUID primary keys. I tried to use CUID too, is not available. And now the final instruction set is going to be every commit must. It should pass the npm run lint. It should pass npm not test. We're not writing test, sorry, right now. Build uh, with oops, no type errors. I mean, technically, hmm, we will have a new uh, caveman block appended to a checkpoint.txt. Okay. What's a caveman? So it's a skill available in uh, Claude. I don't know if it's available outside of Claude. I'll have to check. I am not 100% sure. Uh, but basically, we'll keep caveman styled, which will basically be like after every change, go and write to that file. It will be our checkpoints, more like commits, but more descriptive, so that you can pass it to any AI agent and it can rebuild it. Uh, okay, and it should be reachable via UI, not just in code. And every commit must leave empty loading error states on every list surface. No blank pages. So you'll never have a route at the end of a commit which will not work. Okay. Well, that's my agents.md. Now let's try to understand it like we are five, so that everyone who is attending the session uh, kind of gets it. I'm going to move to AI Studio and I'm going to create a temporary chat. Okay. And I am using like Gemini 3.5 Flash. Grounding with Google search is searched turned on. Gemini, I think, which is most cost efficient model, is good enough. Uh, let's go with 3.5 Flash. Fine. Okay, cool. And I'm going to pass it this, and let's tell it explain like I am five the below agents.md instruction file. Okay. So this is just so that if anyone has lost context or kind of is not sure what's going on or what this is about, then here it is. But okay, I think I should have been a bit more explicit. I want to understand the technical terminologies, because I don't know Next.js, for example. Okay, let's get into a bit more nitty gritty details. And there we go. Okay. So this goes into a bit more details of Next.js. So we are using the app router, which is the navigation system. We are using React Server components. So when you visit a website, your web browser has to do a lot of work to assemble a web page, but with RSC, uh, the backend has taken care of it and just sends a final finished page. Server actions, it is like a direct hotline from a button on your screen to the server instead of building a complex system of API routes. And then client components. So these are the things that do need to run on the browser side. For example, if I open a drop down menu or show a pop up, this are UI side of things. So those are marked as client components. Okay. So this is all about Next.js with React Server components. Simple. So I hope this now makes much more sense. Database terms, or we are using SQLite. I think I already touched up on this. Excuse me 1 second. Back. Sorry. So yeah, we are using Prisma 7. We are using Prisma as an object relational mapper, which acts like a translator here. Then we have transaction. This is the safety feature of the database. Uh, okay, example, let's say a borrower. For example, when you borrow a hammer, the hammer must be marked unavailable, and a borrow request must be created with a transaction. If step 2 fails, step 1 is automatically undone. So this is to prevent database from getting stuck in a half finished state. Then we have some code quality and styling things that it has explained. Then the logic and the security terms, which is like domain layer, and this is the brain of the application. So this is where pure calculations or pure logic lives. A HTTP only cookie, we talked a lot about it, so I'll ignore the explanation. Move ahead to the revalidate path. So Next.js tries to save energy by remembering what pages look like, aka caching. You need to run revalidate path to tell it to update the visual of the page, and UUID is just a unique identifier. Okay, so I hope now this makes sense to like what we are doing in short. uh, about the website. You have seen the live version of the website as well. So I think stopped it. Oh, I stopped it. Okay. So this is our agents.md with all the possible details that we could have given it. And let me commit this. Okay. Oh, sorry. Git add first. So git add all, git commit dash m. This is feed create agents.md file. Okay. And git push. So you should get the agents.md file like right about now. Here's the link to the GitHub project, the GitHub repository, not the project, GitHub repository, uh, for you all to basically copy this agents.md. Now, we spent quite a lot of time here discussing things, and the reason is uh, that makes our job very, very, very easy going forward. Okay. So now, before I end the session, I have like approximately 15 minutes. So before I end the session, let's start a Next.js project. Okay. Let's create one. Let's install the libraries and then we'll go ahead. So step one, I'm going to do next. Nope. Come on, let me type Next.js. Get started, and installation is what we want to focus on. And we want to use npm, and we can go in like we have to run npx create app latest, the name of the app, and dash dash yes. And it now includes agents.md with claude.md that references agents.md. Wow, Amazing, right? Uh, okay, perfect. So we are going to do this. The only difference is we don't need to create a new folder. We already have a folder. So I'm just going to copy this bit, okay, where it says the easiest way is to run this command. And then we'll have some questions that will be asked, and we will try and answer those questions. Oh, one more thing that I do want to do is create a .npmrc file, okay, with save dash exact equals to true. I am very skeptical uh, about saving versions which automatically update in the background. I prefer versions that I have created, okay, the library versions, okay, because every day there's some new news of something, uh, people injecting, I don't know, crypto stuff in libraries. So I want to avoid that. So I am going to do git add all, git commit, and this is more of a chore to add npm-rc and git push. Okay, perfect. So that's out. And now let's follow the instructions. So the instruction says that the quickest way to create a new Next.js application is to run this. Okay. So I'm going to do this, but the only other thing is I'm going to say scaffold it in this current directory. I'm going to hit enter and it will say need to install this. Yes, please. Sorry, right. Y and this, and it contains blah blah blah. Okay. Ah, let's actually remove that. What's the name of your project? I'll put a dot. Why do I need to remove it? I don't like that. Let me create a temp and just move everything there for the time being. It's annoying. Okay, let's call it tool loop. Uh, blah 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 blah. Customize settings. Would you like to use TypeScript? Yes. I want to use Biome. Would you like to use React Compiler? No. Tailwind CSS? No. Would you like your code inside src directory? Yes. Would you like to use app router? Yes. Uh, what else? Import alias by @. Yes, sure. Uh, @. Would you like to include agents.md to write up to date Next.js code? Uh, yes. Let's see. And now it starts creating it. We'll just move or everything out in the root directory after this. Okay, don't worry. Uh, and it has created it. Things that we will move out from here is all of these. Basically, actually, I don't need my own git ignore since there's this one. Actually, I can copy this, cut paste into the internal git ignore. Okay, it's okay if some things are repeated. And agents.md, fine. Claude.md has a reference to agents.md, fine. And I can delete this bit and I will delete this and I will delete the node modules as well, because why not? And then let me move all of this out to the root of this project. Perfect. There we go. So tool loop becomes empty right now. And in my temp, I had npm-rc, which I really needed. Uh, but whatever. I have a readme.md already here, which has instructions on how to run this. Don't actually let this be here. And I can also add my own readme.md, which is ToolLoop, right? Can remove the deployment bits. Don't need that anymore, or don't need that right now. Can remove the learn more bit. I can leave the startup. Perfect. That's README done. And finally, the agents, the one that we created, has much more details. So I will use that. Okay. Now I can delete the temp folder completely. And that's it. Oof. And finally, package JSON. Since my npmrc was moved, I'll have to, unfortunately, add the dependencies by myself. So it has a dev command, which is good, build command, which is good, start command, which is fine. It has a lint, which is biome check, and it has a format, which is biome format right. I will tell both of these to only run inside the .src folder. Okay. And next, talking about the dependencies and the def dependencies. Okay. I'll use the exact dependencies and dev dependencies that we will use in this project, which is these. So I'm using the Prisma libsql adapter, the Prisma client, which is again the latest that I could find. The Next.js, which is 3 days ago there was a newer version. So let's go there. React 19.27, 2.7. Again, latest version. Let's go there. React DOM 19.2.7. Fine. Zord had 4.4.3. Perfect. Biome JS 2.5.0. Let's try that one out. Types node is 25.9.3. Types React, it is 19.2.17. And types React DOM is 19.2.3. Prisma itself is 7.8.0. Fine. TSX is 4.22.4. And TypeScript is 6.0.3. Perfect. Okay, so all the latest dependencies that I could find. And let me delete this package lock and run npm install once again. In the source folder, there is an app folder. Oh, unsupported engine. Okay, so why is this coming up? At some point, I would have used. So okay, let me delete this. So I would suggest please use Node 22. Okay, because that's what I would be using for the entirety of this project. So let me set it to use the Node 22.20.0. This is the Node version that I will be using. and let's do a install once again. Perfect. And to start it up, to start the dev, let's try this one out. So I'm going to do npm run dev, and let's see what that brings up. So it started it up on localhost 3000, and let's copy this one and let's go here. And as long as it doesn't crash, we are good to go. Perfect. To get started, edit the page.tsx file. So let's go there. No issues. Page.tsx file, and it has an image. Nope, I don't need ESLint right now. It has an image. It has a main class. So let me remove all of that. Just put a h1 tag with hello GHW. We don't need image from this, and done. And there we go. Hello GHW. So I think this is good enough. Things that we could possibly delete. Yes, we don't need the favicon.ico. Leave the globals.css there. Layout is there. Page modules is fine. Page.tsx is fine. Yeah, I think that's good. Right. Uh, let's take and keep not keep. Let's take a quick look at next.config. It has a few things, which is you can add some config options right here, and some headers if we want, technically. So let's create some security headers. But actually, let's come back after our break and then we'll do this. For the time being, stopped get status. We have a lot of files that have been changed, updated. Uh, Public folder has a few SVGs. Do we need them? Not really. So let me just delete all of it. We will have a icon.svg, and that would look something like, yeah, this. So let me just open it with text edit, copy paste the code. Easier. Okay, there we go. And format, nope, format document with bio, can it? So something like this. And that would be our favicon.svg, a very simple one. I think that is good enough time to push it. Let's run the other bits and pieces here. So we have npm run lint, and we also have npm run format. It has formatted 4 files, no fixes applied, no fixes applied. Everything is formatted perfectly, it seems. I want to check one thing. Does this work? So in lint, in biome, there was a lint command. Npm run lint. Okay, I think it's the same thing then. So maybe we can have both. We can have the check command as well, which runs biome check and also does the write dash dash write m.src, because why not? Okay, cool. I guess that's it. And oh, the db reset command, which we will need, which we have mentioned in our agents.md. Okay, it will run prisma migrate reset dash dash force, and it will also run prisma db seed. Okay, running two commands here when we do db reset. I guess that's good enough. Biome.json, we can use exactly what I had created. Some of these seem to be deprecated. So let me just delete it and add the ones that I had. Now I have more things which are deprecated here. The use of recommended field has been deprecated. Use preset instead. Okay, weird. This doesn't like it, but recommended also is not liked. Okay, we'll fix it later. And incorrect usage of ignore. Okay. Oof. That's a bit. Let's go back. How do I do an ignore then? Oh, it is this. I just need to give the folder name and I don't need to give the path itself. Perfect. Okay. So just basically making a few changes here and there to make sure that it is exactly what I wanted it to be. I think one last thing we'll need to do is this comes from 2.5.0 now. And I think if I now do preset, that should be recommended. Okay, perfect. Got rid of all the errors. Nice. Can I now run lint? What about npm run format and npm run check? Okay, none of those are failing. Npm run build, is that working fine? Is the build working fine? Yep. And npm run dev, is that working fine? If that does work fine, don't need this. And nope, no, sorry, bye bye. And this loads up. Perfect. Okay, I think we are good to go. This is the perfect point for me to just do a git add all, git commit, and this is a feature where we initialized Next.js app with biome or Next.js app. I think that's good enough. And git push. Okay. So I guess this is the perfect point to, yeah, end the session. Oh, oof, I am 7 minutes over. Sorry about that. And if I now reload this, it should have everything that we need. Okay. With some details, with some like readmes created, some config created, some like agents.md created. And once we come back, we will talk a bit more about this one. Okay. Cool. Any questions, anyone, before we end the session? So the next session that I have is in 20-25 minutes. Okay. So yeah. And now before I end, actually, may I kindly request you all for feedback? So here's the link to feedback. If you visit it, will not take more than 3 to 5 minutes of your time. Uh, this was the Build Tool Loop Community Tool Lending Platform Part 1. Provide a feedback. Any constructive criticism from you all is appreciated. Anything that you think I could improve on, anything that this session could improve on, do let me know and I'll work towards it. Okay. For now, I think perfect time to take a stop. Let's come back in 20 minutes and continue towards the part two, where we'll use the agents.md, pass it to let's try a few different agents, to actually build out the project, and we'll also understand it. Okay, I will try writing our own code, of course, but also take help of anything that is running in the background. Oops, wow, 72%. That's raw. That's not right. Okay, cool. Any questions, anyone? I take the silence as golden. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you in a few. Cheers. Bye bye.